Real stories. Real emotions. Every story has a lesson. This one might change you. I am Sir Nicholas Bassa, and this is my story. Some stories don't begin with fireworks or fame. They begin with silence, a shiver in the cold, and a choice so small it almost goes unnoticed. But sometimes, those are the stories that save us. I was there that night, notebook in hand, just another storyteller collecting voices for the echoes of struggles projects. But what I saw wasn't just another story. It wasn't a quote to print or a name to record. It was a moment, small, quiet, and almost invisible, that reminded me how one act of kindness can turn the coldest night into light. And even now, years later, I still feel its warmth when the world feels too harsh to believe in. The station clock read 6:42 p.m., one of those moments in time that meant nothing to most, yet everything to someone waiting for a chance. It was late winter in small-town Ohio, the kind of evening that clung to the bones. The air bit hard, the sky hung low and colorless, and the yellow lights on the train platform flickered like they, too, were tired of trying. The distant rumble of trains carried through the mist, heavy, weary sounds that spoke of strangers chasing distant hopes. Somewhere in that cold wind was the scent of roasted peanuts, the sting of steel, and the faint bitterness of coffee that had long forgotten its warmth. Her name was Martha Lane, a 73-year-old woman, gray-haired and slender, wearing a long brown coat whose elbows had thinned from years of use. She held a small handbag, soft, frayed at the edges, and clutched it like it contained the last pieces of her life. And perhaps it did. Martha's eyes had that faraway kindness, the kind that comes from surviving heartbreaks and still choosing gentleness. She walked slowly, one careful step after another, toward the ticket window. "Next, please," called the attendant, a young woman tapping the counter impatiently. Martha smiled faintly. "One ticket to Cleveland, dear." "That'll be $18.50, the girl replied. Martha reached into her bag, pulling out an old wallet. There wasn't much in it, a few coins, a folded receipt, and 2 worn dollar bills. Her trembling hands searched every pocket. Then she sighed softly. I'm a little short," she said apologetically. "Can I pay part now and the rest when I get there?" The attendant gave her that look we all recognize, polite but dismissive. "Sorry, ma'am. We can't do that. Full payment only." Martha smiled again, that same tired grace that refuses to break. "Of course, dear. Thank you." She stepped aside, her mind racing quietly behind calm eyes. That was when he appeared. A man in his late 30s, tall, with work-stained jeans and a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. His name, I would later learn, was Eli Turner, a construction worker from Indiana trying to get home after a canceled job. His train was leaving in 10 minutes. He reached the counter quickly. "1 ticket to Cincinnati, please." The attendant typed fast, monotone as always. "That's $22.75. Eli pulled out his wallet. Empty. He checked again, panic rising. "Wait, that can't be right. I had a 20 in here." People behind him began to shuffle impatiently. Someone muttered about missing their own train. Eli looked around, sweating, desperate. "Please, I just need 1 ticket. My kid's waiting. My little girl's birthday's tomorrow." "Sir, I can't help if you don't have money," the attendant said, without looking up. Eli's shoulders slumped. You could feel the weight of a man who's worked all his life and still can't catch a break. He started to back away, eyes glassy with disbelief. And then quietly, so quietly that at first no one noticed, Martha Lane stepped forward. "Excuse me, dear," she said to the attendant. "How much is his ticket again?" The attendant looked puzzled. $22.75. Martha opened her small bag again. Inside were 3 crumpled $1 bills and a handful of change. She took all of it out. Her hands shook slightly, but her voice didn't. "I think I have," she counted, 3, 4, 5, $6.50. Eli stared at her, horrified. "Ma'am, no, please don't." She smiled, her wrinkles softening into something almost angelic. "You said your daughter's birthday is tomorrow?" He nodded, throat tight. "Then you can't miss that train." She turned to the attendant. "Would you please take this, and I'll see if anyone can help make up the rest." People nearby watched, but no one moved. "Not yet." Eli's voice cracked. "I can't take your money. You don't even have enough for yourself." Martha looked up at him, calm, kind, and utterly resolute. "Son," she said, "when you've lived long enough, you learn something important. Sometimes, what you give away comes back in ways you can't imagine." Something in her voice silenced the room. And then a man from the back, a businessman in a gray trench coat, stepped forward. "Put me down for 10. A young woman digging through her purse followed. "I'll cover the rest." Within minutes, the fare was complete. Eli stood there, stunned, clutching the paper ticket like it was made of gold. "Thank you," he whispered. "I'll pay you back. I swear." Martha smiled gently. "Just be good to someone else someday." He nodded, tears running freely now. "I will." When the train left, the crowd dispersed. Martha sat quietly on a wooden bench, her ticket to Cleveland still unpaid for. The next train wasn't for another 2 hours. I sat a few seats away, watching, notebook forgotten. Her hands were folded neatly on her lap, her thin coat pulled close. She looked neither sad nor worried, just peaceful. I walked over. "That was a kind thing you did," I said. She smiled faintly. "Was it? I only did what felt right. Maybe that's enough." We talked for a while. She told me she was going to Cleveland to visit her sister, who was ill. She hadn't seen her in years. "We had an argument long ago," she said softly. "But time is short now. Pride doesn't keep you warm at night." Her words stayed with me. When I offered to help with her fare, she politely refused. "No, no. I've lived many years. The good Lord always finds a way. He just asks that we do what's right while we wait." The clock struck 9:05 p.m. A light drizzle had begun again. Most of the station was empty. Then, through the soft hiss of the rain and the distant rumble of trains, a man appeared at the door, soaked, breathless. It was Eli Turner. He ran up to the counter, waving something in his hand. "Excuse me, ma'am, that old lady who helped me earlier, is she still here?" The attendant frowned. "The one who gave you money? She's over there, I think." He rushed over, kneeling in front of Martha, who looked up in surprise. "Sir." He smiled through the rain on his face. "Ma'am, I made it to Cincinnati, but before the train pulled out, a man I sat beside, he overheard what happened. Turns out he owns a construction company. He gave me a ride back here and he held up a folded envelope. He told me to give you this." Martha blinked, confused. "For me?" "Yes. He said people like you are why he still believes in goodness." She opened the envelope. Inside was a check for $5,000. For a long moment, she didn't speak. Then her lips trembled, and her hand went to her heart. "Oh dear Lord," she whispered. That's more than I've ever held in my life." Eli smiled, still kneeling, his voice gentle. "You said sometimes what we give comes back. Guess you were right." She looked at him, really looked, her old eyes glistening. "No, son. It wasn't me who was right. It was the world trying to prove it still remembers how to be kind." A week later, I wrote about that night for Echoes of Struggles. The headline read, "She gave her last dollar so a stranger could buy his train ticket. Hours later, her kindness came back tenfold." The post went viral. Thousands of comments poured in. Some shared their own stories of unexpected kindness. Others simply said they wept reading it. One man wrote, "I'm 64. I grew up when people still helped each other at bus stops. Reading this brought me back to those days." Another said, "I've been bitter for years. Tonight, I left my house and gave my neighbor food. Thank you for reminding me what matters." When I think of Martha Lane now, I don't picture her as the frail woman in the station. I see her as a giant of spirit, proof that one act of love can ripple across 1,000 hearts. In a world obsessed with taking, she chose to give. In a time when kindness feels outdated, she proved it's still the most powerful form of wealth. And I wonder, what if we all lived that way again? What if we stopped waiting for heroes and started being human? Because sometimes, the richest souls don't wear suits or drive luxury cars. Sometimes they walk among us quietly, with wrinkled hands, warm smiles, and hearts that refuse to give up on goodness. If this story touched your heart, don't let it stop here. Share it. Tell someone you still believe in kindness. Remind them that in the small corners of this world, goodness still breathes. Follow Echoes and Struggles for more real stories of kindness, courage, and life lessons that restore faith in humanity.